Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
Today we're talking about Star Wars, Episode 7, The Force Awakens, which was just released in theaters last night/today. Directed by J.J. Abrams, written by Lawrence Kasdan, J.J. Abrams, and Michael Arndt, and starring Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Adam Driver. I don't have the list in front of me, so I'm forgetting people. I know Peter Mayhew is Chewbacca, of course. And some other folks.
Who plays Poe?
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah,
he plays Poe
Isaac.
Dameron. That's right.
Yeah.
Donald Gleason is General Hux. Andy Serkis, of course, is Supreme Leader Snoke. Before we even say anything,
Gwendolyn Christie.
That's right, as Captain Phasma, which I have a little story about that. Before we say anything, though, we are going to talk about this entire movie, which was just released today. So if you haven't seen Star Wars, we are going to spoil it. So do not listen to this if you have not watched the movie. You will not want to
We're going to spoil the sesame seeds out of this thing.
Yeah, like right out of the gate. That's what I mean. Right out of the gate, we're gonna spoil it. So I'm giving you plenty of time to hit the stop button right now. In fact, I'll tell a little story.
Keep hitting stop just in case.
That's right.
It didn't stop.
Captain Phasma. When I went and saw the movie last night, I saw the 3D version, and I was excited about Star Wars, and of course they were selling these kind of collectible 3D glasses that I don't know why you would buy them really, because you use them once to see the movie and then you never use them again. But they were in kind of the style of a couple of characters, and they had Kylo Ren, I know, originally, and I don't know what the fourth one was, I can't remember, but those were sold out, so they only had BB-8 and Captain Phasma left. And I was feeling, like I said, I was excited for the movie, so I decided to go ahead and buy these glasses. And so I bought BB-8 for my fiancée Denise, and I got Captain Phasma for me. And the guy ringing me up, he was like, all right, one pair of Captain Phasma. He goes, if that's how you say it. And I was like, how are other people saying it? And he goes, I don't know, there's people who are calling it Captain Phasma. And I was like, oh, weird. And I was like, well, I guess I'll find out tonight in the movie. And he goes, yeah. He goes, watch it, though. Watch them never say it. They'll just call her Captain the whole time. And then I kind of laughed at that. And then as the movie, like the very first time you see Captain Phasma, she's talking to Finn, he only refers to her as Captain. And I was like, this kid's going to be right. They're never going to say her name. But then, of course, later on, he does say Phasma. So
yeah,
I found out that it is indeed Captain Phasma, and those guys were wrong.
Correct.
So
you are, that is.
So hopefully the people who have not seen the movie have now stopped the podcast, and we can just dive right into the spoilers. Well, first of all, I guess, John and I actually haven't even spoken to each other since we have seen this movie, so I have no idea what he thinks of it.
We've been very angry at each other. We got in a fight.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We haven't spoken.
No, not really.
No, not really. So, no, I'm very curious to hear his thoughts, and I'm sure he probably doesn't care what I think, but we're going to talk about it anyway. No, so John, what was your? You got out of the movie first. What was your initial reaction?
I did, and I wanted to just start sending you texts of all the spoilers, and
right.
Just because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to just be so mean,
right? Just spoil.
Just spoil. just something so important not to spoil. So, but I held back and didn't do it.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I was very pleased with the movie. That's what I'm going to say at this point.
Very pleased.
Very pleased.
Interesting. I would say that I was also very pleased with the film. I'm going to go a little bit farther than that and kind of say that I thought it was actually... I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It felt like a Star Wars movie to me. It is easily, in my opinion, better than any of the prequels.
Well, that goes without question,
right? Which we knew it was going to be better than the prequels, but there was that little bit of doubt that is in the back of your mind, like, what if what if this movie sucks? Like, what if it is like Attack of the Clones? And thankfully, it's not. There are some moments in the movie that I felt were a little maybe out of place, perhaps. But
I can agree with that.
Overall, loved it. Really, 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 really enjoyed it. I think I had a smile on my face pretty much the whole time, especially during the opening crawl. And,
oh yeah, the first line was great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the movie, it starts off. It says Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and then the first line is, and I'm not going to remember it exactly, but it's like Luke Skywalker has disappeared.
Luke Skywalker has vanished.
Vanished. I couldn't remember if it was vanished or disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker has vanished, and that immediately I was like, oh.
Yep.
I was like, and everything made sense all of a sudden. I was like, that's why we haven't seen him in the previews and everything, And
there was a lot of speculation that's what the deal was.
Right.
And I liked it like that. I was hoping for that because that just makes you crave Luke even more throughout the movie. Not only that, but once you get to Luke, it's way more satisfying because you've been having to work for that moment.
Absolutely. And I kept expecting him to show up.
Yeah, I was going to say, when the work finally paid off, I'm like, well, it's time to go.
Yeah. Yeah, that was what was really funny. I mean, I guess we can just talk about it. I feel like we're still holding back for just in case, but people who are listening have seen the movie, so it was funny to me that Luke Skywalker shows up at the very end. He looks amazing, by the way. Like, even though we knew he was going to have the beard and everything, for whatever reason, when he turns around and you see bearded Luke Skywalker and he pulls the hood back and he's kind of got the longer hair.
He's got the Anakin hair.
I just got chills, man. I thought he looked so cool.
Yeah. And
he doesn't say a word. She holds out the lightsaber and then that's the end of the movie. And I was, Denise, my fiance, was like, it's crazy he got second billing and he didn't even have a line in this movie. And I was like, yeah, but it's Luke Skywalker. I mean, come on. But it makes me that much more excited for Episode 8.
Yeah, exactly.
That final scene was incredible, in my opinion.
You could see he was getting emotional.
He almost looked angry.
You think so?
Yeah, I thought so.
I didn't get that at all.
To me, it seemed like, granted, I was getting a bit tired at this point. It was a little past my bedtime. I was around midnight, I think, when this movie got out. And so maybe it was my tiredness creeping in, but I thought he looked a little upset, and so I was very curious as to what was going on there.
You are the one who stole my lightsaber.
I have been looking for that for 30 years.
You have a lot of nerve.
It was Maz Kanata, wasn't it? I knew it was her. Very curious as to how she got that lightsaber, by the way.
Maz?
It's one of those things that they just kind of glossed over. They were like, it doesn't matter. That's a story for another time.
Right. Well, I think that was done because they plan on telling us. And, they want to have... Yeah, it was kind of weird. That's the thing for me. There were I felt like there were several moments in this movie where it was not a movie ruiner at all. Everything I've watched a couple spoiler reviews and listened to what some other people have said and kind of agreed with several things. Like a lot of the mistakes done in this movie were not Star Wars mistakes. They were movie mistakes.
For example?
Well, my least favorite thing in the movie was the like monster scene with Han Solo.
The Rathtars. Isn't that what they're called? The Rathtars or something like that?
Okay.
It's those animals, those creatures that he's transporting, right?
Yes, correct.
That's actually my least favorite scene in the movie too. That's the part of the movie to me that doesn't feel Star Wars. It feels J.J. Abrams-ish.
It felt prequel to me.
Right.
I got a bad feeling in my stomach, and I'm just sitting there watching this going, hurry up and finish, because I do not like this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wish that part.
And I wonder why that is. Is it because of the design of the creature? Is it because the creature's
it just looks fake to me?
So quick moving, so CGI heavy.
So, yeah, it was very CGI. It just took me out. I could tell it was fake. A lot of it was the movements. I think a lot of it was the way that the creature's interacting with, the real life characters, stuff like that. Wasn't done properly, and I don't think that's necessarily, Abrams or the effects people, their fault. It's just we're just still not at that point to have up close and personal encounters like that in a Star Wars film. The Hobbit did it. I didn't like the way the Hobbit did it. There are certain movies where you can get away with it because the movie has a slight cartoony feel to it, possibly. Right. Star Wars doesn't.
Sure.
And I've heard a lot of people say that they thought that the special effects in this were great. And I can't agree with that. I didn't like Maz.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought she looked fine.
She looked okay when she took off her eyepieces.
Goggles.
But that's the moment where I was like, she's almost passable here. I didn't like Snoke very much.
I didn't like Snoke either, and I have a question about Snoke.
And what I mean by that is his visuals.
Sure. Well, we know nothing about him still.
Right.
So Andy Serkis, he was doing a what do you call it? A motion capture performance, just like he did with Gollum and things like that. And so Supreme Leader Snoke, and I remember reading, and I wish I hadn't read this, although I guess maybe it would kind of soften the blow a little bit. But I remember reading that he was talking about the day they filmed it and how he was up on this ledge or whatever, so that they had to look really high up to see him. And so then there was speculation that Supreme Leader Snoke was going to be this giant being.
Right.
And so when you see him in the movie, he is very large, and they are looking up to him. But then you find out that he's a hologram. So it makes me wonder if he's really that big or if it's just a hologram that's projected that big.
Right.
But I agree with you. I didn't, number one, I didn't think that his appearance really was worthy of motion capture. I mean, he doesn't look like Andy Serkis, but I feel like it would have been better to just have Andy Serkis in practical makeup effects with the scarring and stuff than have this motion capture thing. It really, that, I agree with you. It reminded me of the Guardians from Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's you could just tell it's CG and it just looks kind of like an older person. So yeah, I didn't understand that really. So hopefully, in episode 8 and 9, we'll find out more about Supreme Leader Snoke and figure out what's going on there. But yeah, I agree with you there. I thought overall the special effects were great. I thought the X-Wing battles with the TIE fighters and all that.
Oh, yeah, amazing. I'm not talking about vehicles. I'm talking about creatures.
Sure.
Specifically creatures. Living entities. They just don't work for me.
And I think I would disagree with you about Maz Kanata. I thought she looked great, but I think Supreme Leader Snoke and the Rathars, yeah, I would agree with you there, I suppose.
Yeah. But that's really all there were for those. I mean, there were a few aliens here and stuff in the cantina, which I was actually okay with those because they were kind of more distant shots.
Right, sure.
But when you get these up close and personal shots with that, I don't like it at this point.
Maz Kanata was also not what I was expecting, which I realized later she's actually on the poster, and I just never noticed her. But I was expecting her to be taller, number one, and I didn't expect her to be the owner of a tavern. I thought she was going to be this kind of more mystical being, and I think it was just because of the narration from the trailer, kind of how she almost sounded like the Oracle from The Matrix or something, you know what I mean?
Right.
Where she's the Force calls out to you, let it in. And just had this kind of wise-sounding voice and everything, and so I didn't expect her to be this little short tavern owner with goggles. I don't know. It was a lot different than what I was expecting.
Yeah, and I think that could have been intentional because a lot of people would assume that Han Solo's taking them to this person, and it turns
Right.
out to be this little weird-looking alien.
Right.
The unexpected, almost like Yoda, you know?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Large can come in small packages.
That's right.
So, talking about Maz, though, I wasn't the biggest fan of her character either. It wasn't that she bothered me per se. Maybe a little, but I just felt like she didn't fulfill what I think they were wanting her to be.
What do you think they were wanting her to be?
Just more of a. I didn't get that she was this important, wise, knowledgeable person.
Right. No. Yeah.
And that's something else I want to bring up is the humor in the movie. What do you think about the humor in the movie?
I thought it was fine. There was a couple instances that felt a little, not like in. I would say the very first instance of humor, if I recall, was when Poe gets captured and he's placed right in front of Kylo Ren, and he goes, "Do I speak first? Do you speak first? How does this work?" And that it almost threw me off. I wasn't expecting a joke there, and but other than that, I thought most of the humor actually worked really well.
I agree for the most part. I think about half the humor was good. And half of it felt forced to me.
Do you have a specific example there about one of the forced jokes?
It was more later towards the second half of the movie where you started to get like that. Maybe because you had heard so many and you're like, okay, now they're starting to... I mean, how many times is this now? Like the 15th joke? I think a good number for a movie like this, for humorous moments, good humorous moments, solid ones, maybe 5 or 6. And I just felt like they really...
Too many?
Yeah, there were just too many. That's all. That's really all it was just there were too many of them.
I didn't feel that way. I thought it was. I really don't. Other than that first joke that I said kind of threw me off, just because I wasn't expecting it. I don't really have any moments where I kind of rolled my eyes and was like, all right, let's move past the jokes. I really there was a couple of jokes that I laughed pretty hard at, like when he was talking about how he worked in sanitation.
That was the best one.
He goes, we'll use the Force.
I died
on that one. The Force doesn't work like that.
Because Harrison Ford's reaction to that is just amazing.
Right, it was perfect.
He grabs his shoulder and slams it against the wall. Sanitation?
Right. So, yeah.
We are standing here getting ready to risk our lives, and sanitation?
Yeah, it's perfect. So I went online today and read some of the, comments, I guess, about what people were thinking about the movie. And because I liked it so much, I kind of expected everybody else to like it a lot. And some of the complaints, and I want to hear what your thoughts are on this, was, I'll give you, first, one of the first complaints, which is a minor one in my opinion, because I have a feeling this character is going to be a bigger character later, is Captain Phasma.
Yep.
She shows up, she, reprimands Finn, she has, one other scene, and then she comes back later, and they kind of take her hostage, sort of, and make her shut down the shields to Star Killer Base, or whatever it is. And then they throw her down like the trash chute, and you never see her again. And so I'm guessing she's going to come back and be a bigger part of the universe in Episode 8 or 9. I'd be really surprised if we never see her again. Because
right, no, yeah, definitely expecting to see her again. I feel the same way that they do, maybe even stronger.
Right.
I felt like they just totally butchered her character, and she was completely unnecessary, really, for this episode. I would have liked it better if they had made her more of what a Boba Fett was originally, in the original trilogy before the special editions. Where she's just more of a mysterious. I think that would have made her seem more menacing and threatening. I get that they wanted, that they're with Daisy Ridley and everything. They're bringing female characters to the forefront.
Sure.
But I think they could have saved that for later. And I think Phasma really would have been a more valued character if they had done that with her. What I was saying earlier.
Sure, and I would agree with that. I think it would have been cool if she. We would have never known she was a woman if she never spoke. Because I feel like Boba Fett, he had lines, but he didn't talk very much in Empire Strikes Back. And he was always kind of in the corner, just kind of keeping an eye on things. And that would have been kind of cool if Captain Phasma had been that way as well.
Right.
And it makes me wonder, there's got to be deleted scenes with her. There's actually, if you go back and rewatch the trailers, there's a lot, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's a few scenes and images that didn't make it into the movie. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some deleted scenes with Captain Phasma that just got cut because it was either running time or,
and it's a shame because what we got was, like I said, they butchered her. I feel like when she was on screen, she was a laughable
villain.
Yeah.
She just didn't have anything to do, like you said. she reprimands Finn in the very beginning for taking his helmet off and something else. I forget what it is. And then the only other scene she has before she's essentially taken hostage is telling Kylo Ren and General Hux that it was Finn that probably helped Poe Dameron escape.
Right.
And that's
then
it.
She gets taken hostage, and it's like, why is she such a big deal?
She's not like a threat at all, really. She's very useless.
Yeah. I'm like, it could have been any other stormtrooper. Why your most valued stormtrooper is being treated this way?
Right.
As an introduction?
Or doesn't even really, like, if she had even fought back during the hostage scene. So my guess is she's going to be completely used in a bigger way in the later movies.
I definitely hope so, because I think she has a lot of potential, and I hope they flesh that out.
Yeah. Now, one of the other complaints that I do not agree with, because I actually I thought it worked really well, and I just, for nostalgic purposes, I think I kind of really liked it, was people had an issue that the storyline resembled A New Hope a little too closely.
Didn't get that at all myself. Not at all.
Yeah, and so, the only thing that I think I can really... Because, the movie, aside from the brand new characters, because I remember one person I thought went a little too far with it in the comments. They were like, I just basically rewatched A New Hope. And I was like, no, you didn't.
Right.
But...
and I think one of the main reasons that's going around is because people are reading it, and then they're like, yeah... Didn't you hear? It is like A New Hope. And I'm like, what's your basis for that?
Well, the only thing I can think of is, in A New Hope, Leia gives the Death Star plans to R2-D2. And so in this movie, Poe Dameron gives the map of where Luke Skywalker is to BB-8.
And that's a complete remake of A New Hope right there. That
right, I know. It's the exact same movie. And so it's this droid that has the plans, I guess you could say. But and then I guess the other issue they had was the whole third Death Star, because this was like base. I can't remember if is it Star Killer Base or Base.
It is Star Killer. I don't know if it's called
Base
Star Killer Base or not.
Star Killer Base. Well, we'll just call it Star Killer. So they have Star Killer, but it's a planet, right? And they actually built this weapon into the planet,
right?
So it's, yes, it's round, so I guess it looks like the Death Star. But when they showed the Death Star, they were like, here, because somebody was like, so it's a new Death Star in the movie. And they were like, well, not really, because here's the Death Star, here's Star Killer. And it was like 10 times the size of the Death Star.
Right.
Somebody in my audience actually was like, whoa. And my only complaint, I guess, with that would be, we were shown the power. It really didn't get the effect that I think maybe they were hoping for, but we were shown the power of Star Killer way before they even had that little meeting with the Resistance, and Star Killer blew up like several different planets.
Yeah, it was like 5 of them, I think.
Yeah, and
that's pretty hardcore.
I feel like the Resistance wasn't around to see it or something. I don't know, but like it didn't have the impact that like blowing up Alderaan did in A New Hope, because Princess Leia was there. It was her planet.
Right.
They were blowing up Alderaan. Kenobi felt it. And I feel like in this movie, it just kind of was like they blew up several planets, so the audience was like, wow. But then it just kind of got looked over.
Yeah, I can agree with that totally.
Yeah.
Complaining about that, I can see why people would be like, yeah, come up with another idea, but let's get real and say, if the Empire has the ability to make a weapon that blows up an entire planet, what other weapon are they going to go for? I mean,
like, well, maybe we should go smaller next time.
Destructive weapon you can possibly make. There's nothing else.
And so now they have a weapon that blows up several planets.
Yeah.
And so, yes, of course. So, I agree with you. I have absolutely zero problem with it. I think I didn't really consider it another Death Star. I thought, the battle at the end is a little similar to the battle in New Hope where they're trying to shoot.
The closest that I saw to A New Hope, but once again, it's a scene. It's not
exactly.
The entire movie is not a remake, not even reminiscent of A New Hope to me. So I think that whole concept is silly.
Yeah, I agree with you. Glad to hear it. I was worried when I was reading those comments. I was like, man, I hope John doesn't have these feelings. We're gonna be like arguing about the movie.
Right.
I feel like I enjoyed it a little bit more than you did. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like maybe the hype and the excitement, it was just had a hard time living up to it.
I really, really liked it. I like all the original trilogy films better.
Sure. I think we're going to say that about I think episode 8 and 9 are going to come out. Rogue One's going to come out. The Han Solo movie, all of them, none of them are going to be as good as the original trilogy.
Right.
But we're going to still enjoy them, I think.
The fantastic parts in this movie were really fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and I think for me, and I probably wouldn't be as hard on it if it wasn't Star Wars, but there were just several scenes or moments where you're like, if that had been a little bit better, it would have been perfect,
right?
And so that's where I saw cracks, but and the cracks were kind of noticeable,
right?
When they were there,
sure.
But overall, yeah, I think the movie did a great job.
I think so too. I have a question for you regarding the opening scene. So, after the title scroll, we go down to Jakku and we find Poe Dameron, which is the Resistance best pilot.
Right.
And he's talking to Max von Sydow.
Right.
And perhaps I just completely missed it because I was so excited I was seeing Star Wars and I just wasn't paying attention. But do we know who he is?
Nope.
Who Max von Sydow is?
They do not mention his name.
So they don't say his name, they don't say anything about him, but he knows who Kylo Ren is.
He knows who Kylo Ren is, and he knows who his family is.
Yeah. Which, by the way, you and I were texting before the movie came out, and jokingly said that Kylo Ren... By the way, I also want to preface this by saying that I tried to avoid anything and everything about Star Wars speculation on the internet.
Right.
Because...
Me too.
Speculation may or may not be right, and if it's right, then I feel like I've found, I knew ahead of time. And so I whenever anybody was like, here's my theory on Star Wars, I avoided it. Right. So John and I were jokingly, because the reason I say that is because apparently somebody had guessed Kylo Ren's heritage, I guess you could say, online before the movie came out.
Well, I mean, you don't have too many options, really, it's like Luke...
That's true. I mean, that's assuming he is somebody's son who is important, which obviously... The one that we guessed, I'll just say, when we were texting, you joked that Kylo Ren was Luke's son.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that would actually kind of make sense because, he's got the Force and all that. But it didn't even occur to me that he could be Leia's son.
Uh-huh.
And so when Max von Sydow was saying something about, your family and stuff like that, I was like, oh man, John got it right. And then, of course, it was revealed a little bit later that it's Han Solo's kid. And so... we were wrong, which I was glad about. So,
I mean, I figured it was either Luke's or Han and Leia's. He either Luke or Han and Leia's, But I was really putting my money on Luke because I figured that the whole it appeared to me in the trailers that he was, he talking to Darth Vader in this trailer, or about Darth Vader when he said, I'm going to finish what you started. Or was it, cut to where it looked like he was talking about that?
Sure.
But if he was, I was like, I think for him to really become obsessed like that is because it's his grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I figured if that's the route they were going, it would be Anakin, Luke, and then Kylo Ren.
Right.
Like a direct line.
Sure.
So I was putting way more weight on that he was Luke's, but yeah, he was Han and Leia's. So that was a cool. I liked that. I'm glad that happened, because also you've got people. I haven't heard anything about it, but that might be. Gosh, it's so convenient. They're always related to each other.
Right.
But let's think about this. Who better to rise to that position?
Right.
Then, it's going to be someone from the Skywalkers.
Yeah, descendant of Skywalker, of course.
So it shouldn't be too surprising.
And the fact that Luke Skywalker is considered the last Jedi. They even say that in the opening scroll, like when they're trying to find Luke Skywalker so that they can wipe out the last of the Jedi. And so, if you really think about it, if Luke Skywalker is really the last of the Jedi, then of course Kylo Ren has to be, related to him in some way. Which then now begs the question: is Daisy Ridley's character Rey? Is she the daughter of Luke?
Right. And that seems like the obvious answer. That's what everyone's saying. And then the more that I realize how obvious it is, I'm like, is there something else to this?
That's what I'm curious about as well, because it does seem like it's too easy of an explanation. But there does seem to be some sort of there's obviously a Luke Skywalker not connection, but resemblance, I guess, where she was obviously placed on Jakku. She's waiting for somebody to come back.
Right.
Somebody obviously told her, I will come back for you, and either didn't mean it or, who knows, got killed or something.
Right. So that's the thing. They're really pushing that she doesn't know who her family is.
Yeah.
She's on Tatooine. She's force sensitive.
Yeah.
You have the hug with her and Leia at the end where, you're like, is Leia hugging her knowing that she's hugging her niece? Is that why she's really embracing her here? You have the moment where you claim Luke Skywalker looks so angry. I took it as just emotion of seeing his daughter.
Sure, which could be. And I need to watch the movie again. I'm going to see the movie again for sure.
Right.
So I'll pay a little closer attention this time. But here's how. Okay, I was getting really tired at the end, and I was trying really hard to keep my eyes open. And it's when she's walking up the steps, and right as she sees Luke Skywalker, I remember thinking to myself, "Wait, how did she find him?" And then I was like, "Oh right, R2-D2 woke up." I immediately forgot about the whole R2-D2 scene. Immediately.
You're like, man, another convenient moment in Star Wars.
Right.
Just randomly, guy, I'm tired and
take
hungry.
a vacation.
Let's land on this planet here. Oh, Luke Skywalker.
What? Hey, I have your lightsaber. Yeah. So I was a little tired. So I definitely need to go see it again, during the day, I think. Daisy Ridley, though, I thought did a fantastic job.
They all did.
Yeah. Finn, I really enjoyed. I thought he was occasionally not over the top, but just he was one of the louder characters, I guess you could say.
Right.
And so I appreciated his energy.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Absolutely.
I won't say that I disliked his performance at all, because I thought it was great. I thought Adam Driver as Kylo Ren was fantastic.
Yep. And someone that gets overlooked is that I haven't heard too much about is Oscar Isaac.
Right, yeah, and he was amazing.
Even though he wasn't in it that much, just his scenes and his dynamic and just force was there, and he really put on a performance for as little as screen time as he had.
Yeah, absolutely. I really hope we see Poe Dameron more in the sequels as well. But my favorite character, honestly, I think from the new film, BB-8.
He was good. I liked him.
BB-8 was great. When he was like, when he finds out that Poe Dameron is supposedly dead, he was like, like you felt bad for this robot, you know? Like the puppeteers for that robot, I thought did a great job with like conveying emotion with that little guy. So yeah, BB-8 was great. He kind of stole the show in my opinion. Especially that scene where Finn gives him the thumbs up and then he like puts out the little lighter thing.
Right.
I thought that was great.
But yeah, I don't want to skip over what you were bringing up. Daisy Ridley. Talk about her.
I mean, this is essentially, I saw an interview with her where she was like, this is my first movie, really.
Yeah.
Without, she was like, I've done student films and stuff like that. That
makes it even so much, I mean, so impressive.
I think it's every actor's dream to like go audition for Star Wars and have Star Wars be your first movie. Or every nerdy actor's dream, I suppose. And so, yeah, but she was, she held her own against Harrison Ford and, that the lightsaber fight scenes at the end.
That's my favorite.
With Finn and then with Rey, I thought were amazing. Like, I thought, though, that lightsaber fight scene I thought was better than most of the, choreographed, over-the-top fight scenes from all the prequels.
I can't think of one I like better. It was the way that they were moving.
Yeah.
Adam Driver, Kylo Ren is just swinging this thing around, but it's not like the prequels where they're, super fast and can just do what he's taking this thing like it's a baseball bat and just trying to bash this thing down, and it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, me too. I absolutely loved it. And I like that, in the same fashion as Darth Vader in A New Hope, he's kind of defeated, but he's not dead. He has a nice little scar now that he can hide with his mask.
Mm-hmm.
But he's obviously going to be back, and he's probably going to be a little ticked off,
very angry. Yeah. So that's something. That's another thing that brings up Daisy Ridley, Rey.
Yeah.
And, it was very early on in the movie, and I don't remember who brought it up, but Kylo Ren was angry about something. Like, he seemed to get angry several times in the movie, which I thought that was temper. I liked that.
No, I did too.
First time it took me off guard a little bit. I was like, I didn't know how I felt about it. But,
are you talking about the scene where he like brings out the lightsaber and starts like beating up the console?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually loved that. I thought that was great.
I do now, but when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know. But the second time he did it, I was like, okay, he was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah, and the guy that was like telling him the news, he was kind of like, oh God.
Right.
He's like, I don't want to tell him the next part.
So that's what I'm getting ready to bring up is he mentions the girl. And Kylo Ren's like, what girl?
Mm-hmm.
So he's very interested in a girl, which also points, for me,
that he might know who it is.
That it's probably his cousin.
Mm. Very possible. I just assumed it was more of a, he wasn't showing interest in a girl particularly. He was more like annoyed, and he's like, there's a new person. It's like, what girl? Type of thing, you know what I mean?
Right, like, identify her so we can follow her.
Right, exactly.
But to me, no, I took it as a, whoa, you said a girl's involved in this? That's on Jakku?
He takes the mask off and he's like, sprays the breath spray. He's like, what girl? Whoa. Girl?
Was she attractive?
She cute?
About my age?
What'd she look like? She fat? You can tell me she's fat.
But yeah, I think there's more to it. I think he knows who she is. I think he knows that she's force sensitive. Because I don't think he was really shocked when she did what she did. I think it was more of a, she's figured it out.
Do you think though that did he recognize her in the forest when they first meet?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably.
Because
he is force sensitive, and if she's force sensitive, another question is: was she trained by Luke? Was she one of the people that Luke was training that Kylo Ren?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
My guess is because she thinks the Force and Luke Skywalker are a myth.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think she remembers. There's theories that Luke Skywalker has wiped her memory away when he took her to Jakku.
Sure.
So
that's a possibility, I suppose.
Right, but I mean that would explain how she could kind of wield a lightsaber like that. Even though my argument was, well, she has the staff. I mean, she knows how to fight. Finn went running to rescue her, and she beat up like 3 guys with it.
Right.
And it would also explain how she could use the Force so quickly.
Well, my take on that was just that she didn't even know she had the Force until Kylo Ren essentially told her. And so then she was just like trying. And I was just taking it as...
Did he tell her?
I think he did. He said something to her about how...
I thought when he was trying to read her mind, she picked up that she was getting his thoughts too. And I thought she just
kind of realized it.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh,
that's very possible. Maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly." And
but I could be wrong too. I can't remember for sure.
We'll have to just see it again.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to take my kids to see this movie before it gets out of theater. I want them to see it. I think it's definitely a worthy Star Wars film.
Absolutely, and I think they'll remember. It'll be cool memory of them. They'll be like, getting to see Star Wars on the big screen.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I was going to say was I think whether she realized it herself or whether he told her, she is just so powerful in the Force that just attempting to do it, she's able to do it
right.
Well.
It's definitely possible.
I mean? So it's like if she was to be trained, she could be maybe even more powerful than Luke.
Right. And he's super concerned.
Right.
Because he's like, she's just now discovering her powers and she's experimenting with him. The longer she gets to do that, the harder it's going to be to take care of her.
Right. And that was the scene in the snow when I expected Luke to show up. So Kylo Ren and Finn are battling, and Finn essentially loses, doesn't die, but loses. And then you see Kylo Ren try to force grab the lightsaber.
Right.
And it starts shaking a little bit, and he can't do it. And then all of a sudden it gets sucked out of the ground, and I expected Luke Skywalker to be on the other end of that. And instead it's Rey, and I was kind of like, oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. See, I was just like, oh, he's pulling the... Now, how come why don't you think he could grab it? Why did he have trouble? I mean, being as powerful as he is, why could he not get that lightsaber?
I think it was because she was trying to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just it was 2 forces pulling on it at the same time, I guess, or something. So it was just competing against each other. That's my guess. I don't think he's losing his powers or anything. I think he was fighting her and didn't realize
it worked last month.
Right? He's like, come on. I have to change the batteries in this thing again. I loved, speaking of using the Force, I loved in the opening scene where Poe Dameron tries to shoot Kylo Ren with a blaster, and he stops the blaster laser.
Yes.
That was something we have not seen in Star Wars before, and I thought that was fantastic.
I loved that, and I loved that, I don't know if he stopped holding it or if it was just that he had walked far away enough that, he had let it go, but, well, I guess it would be either way. He let it go, but yeah,
sure.
He walks away and then it goes.
Yeah.
I think
that was a great kind of introduction as to how powerful Kylo Ren is, because he's having a conversation. He's actually even reading Poe's mind there at first, before he even lets that blaster go. So he's doing multiple things with the Force and his concentration.
Right.
And so I thought that was really well done. I loved Kylo Ren's voice. It wasn't Darth Vader, but it was also lower and kind of almost electronic sounding and menacing.
Right. It was electronic, but it wasn't like you said, Darth Vader. It wasn't super. It was almost a medium of human and electronic.
Right. I thought it sounded perfect, honestly.
Yeah.
I really liked Donald Gleason as General Hux. He doesn't have very many scenes, but his speech to the First Order was very. I thought he did a great job with that. It was kind of Hitler-esque,
right?
And so I thought he kind of nailed that. I also like the dynamic between General Hux and Kylo Ren. Like they're not, buddy. They're actually blaming stuff on each other when they're talking to Supreme Leader Snoke and stuff. They don't really get along, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Very interesting dynamic.
Yeah. What do you think of, aside from, we talked about his physical appearance, but Snoke, what do you think about him?
Well, I think my main question is, who is he?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I'm excited to learn about Snoke is, number one, who is he and how is he able to put the First Order together, which is something I don't know if we'll ever really learn. Kind of like with the original trilogy, the Empire just existed. And then in the prequels, we learned how the Empire got built. So I don't know if we're going to really learn how the First Order came to be, but obviously Supreme Leader Snoke is behind it. And I'm just curious where he comes from. Is he, does he have Force powers?
I'll go ahead and say this. I haven't seen them, but apparently in the show Rebels, it actually might have been the Clone Wars, but it's one of the two animated shows.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about, I believe it was the Emperor, talks about forces from outside the galaxy. Yeah, and
in another galaxy?
Just from the universe. I don't know if they're from another galaxy or just, who knows where they're from.
So the next movie will be like a long time ago.
I think they were beings that he was referring to.
Interesting.
So I'm wondering if he's one of these beings. Another question is he Plagueis?
Right.
And something that I heard today, which really, and I'm going to be honest, I would love it if he was Plagueis. That would really excite me. But something that I heard today, which kind of gave even more credence to that theory, is his face and how he's scarred up. And someone mentioned that he has, it looks like he was almost cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
And if he was cut in half and he's still alive, then he pieced himself back together and came back to life, which would be something Plagueis would have been able to do.
Oh, wow. I have a friend who is a huge Star Wars fan. He's more of an acquaintance, I guess. He lives in Georgia, but he has a YouTube channel called Star Wars Minute, and he posts stuff on Instagram, and he did like a little 30-day Star Wars challenge before the movie came out, and so it was like each day it was like favorite Obi-Wan quote, and then it'd be like favorite Yoda quote, and I can't remember what this one was for, but it was basically he was talking about how there's a book called Star Wars Darth Plagueis, I guess, and how he was saying he was sad that was no longer considered canon. And I'm guessing it's because it takes place after Return of the Jedi, and
right.
And so I'd be curious to see if he thinks that Snoke is Plagueis.
Well, Plagueis is actually mentioned in one of the new canon books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and plus he's mentioned in the prequels, which are canon. So Plagueis does exist in the canon of Star Wars.
And Plagueis is correct me if I'm wrong here. Plagueis was the guy that Emperor Palpatine was talking about, who was Palpatine's master.
Well, at least we're led to believe that. He never actually says it, but because he says that his apprentice killed him,
right? And
then you find out that the Emperor, I think he said, did the same thing. It's pretty well assumed that Plagueis.
So according
was
to the Emperor, he killed Plagueis. According to the Emperor, he killed Plagueis. Or
Plagueis' apprentice killed Plagueis.
Plagueis is okay, so maybe that's when he got split in half.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Interesting. Well, that'd be kind of cool, and it would kind of wrap everything.
Yeah.
Neatly in a nice little bow.
I like it.
I would say that there's. I mean, I don't know because J.J. Abrams. Who knows what he's trying to set up, and he J.J. Abrams also seems like maybe not. I could be completely wrong about this, but it seems to me like J.J. Abrams is the type of guy who, in his brain, even though in Disney's mind these new books and everything are canon, but in his brain the only thing that's really canon are the films.
Right.
And so I could see him making up some new character, and that's going to be the thing. But at the same time, I could totally see how Snoke is Plagueis.
Right.
And then you'd think Plagueis would be like kind of this bigger kind of character and everything.
Are you talking about size-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's theories that he's not that big because it's a hologram. I wouldn't mind him being a big guy, but my only concern is where are you going to be able to make that look good?
Right, and that's my concern too, because eventually you're going to have some sort of showdown like the Emperor and Luke in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
And so, is it going to look stupid to have Rey and fighting this like 12-foot monster?
Right. Exactly.
I agree with you there.
Now,
so I'm kind of hoping that he's not that size, or at least not that big. You know what I mean? That the hologram.
It makes him intriguing, though. I mean, you've never seen anything like that before.
That's true. There's been no character in the Star Wars universe in the films anyway that have been that size. Jabba the Hutt is probably the closest thing.
Right, but he's slow
and fat and gross.
Yeah, all this. Snoke's not gross at all. He's a good-looking guy.
He's like a teddy bear.
Now, apparently, he has said he was asked. Apparently, I've heard that he was asked if Plagueis was in. I don't know if it was the new Star Wars trilogy or if it was just Force Awakens, and he said Plagueis is not. So you have the question of JJ said Plagueis is not in it. Is he? He said that Khan was not in Into Darkness. Right. So and that people once they found out didn't take too kindly to that. Is he going to?
To be fair, I think I don't know if J.J. Abrams ever flat out said that Khan was not in the movie, but I know Simon Pegg said that Benedict Cumberbatch is not playing Khan. Because I read an article just the other day about how J.J. Abrams kind of wishes that they were like, we were trying to, because you don't find out that he's Khan until like almost an hour into the movie, like 45 minutes at least into the movie. So
right.
his whole thing was, he was like, I didn't want you to go into the movie knowing something that the main characters didn't know for that amount of time. And he's like, but looking back on it, like, of course you guys figured it out, and we look stupid for telling you that it's not Khan. But he said that, he goes, the only person that flat out said it wasn't Khan was Simon Pegg. And he goes, when I read that interview, he was like, oh, Simon Pegg.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he said anyway. That's what J.J. Abrams said.
Because I thought I remembered even before seeing the movie that he specifically said
Khan is
he's not Khan. But I need to go back and research that again.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I can't say with any fact. But I'm just relaying what I read the other day about his interview, saying that Simon Pegg was the only one to flat out lie, essentially.
Right.
And so there's probably some interesting wording, about who. I mean, they could be like, "Is he Khan?" And he's like, "He's John Harrison." So it's like not quite a denial,
Right?
He never flat out says no. But yeah, and J.J. Abrams is obviously very big into not spoiling anything either. The secrecy surrounding this movie and the secrecy surrounding
exactly. So he can't say, yeah, if it is Plagueis, he can't say, yeah, it's Plagueis.
Yeah, totally. It's going to be Plagueis.
We don't say it's Plagueis in this movie, but guess what? It is. Since you asked, I'm going to tell you.
Right.
And, so that's the question is, would him saying Plagueis is not in this movie count? Since technically, even if it does turn out to be Plagueis later, Plagueis was not in this movie because it's not Plagueis at this point.
Right.
So I don't know.
It's very possible. And yeah, nobody refers to him as Plagueis. It's Supreme Leader Snoke. So, you know, he's not really lying.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out in 2 years. Star Wars Episode 8 starts shooting, I believe, in January. And I believe it has a May 2017 release date.
Correct.
let's talk about the big spoiler of the movie.
Yeah.
And that would be, once we find out that, well, I guess it's a little later. We find out early on that Kylo Ren is Han Solo and General Leia's son. I'm assuming their only child. They haven't really talked about any other.
Right.
Children.
There's a conversation that they're having. Han and Leia, they're out in front of probably the Millennium Falcon. I can't remember, but where she's talking about losing Han and Ben.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I, obviously missed that part of the conversation. I was probably, who knows. But when he calls out to Kylo, when he sees him in I don't even know what area you would call that. But when they have their little confrontation, I was like, he yells out to him, and I was like, did he just say Ren or did he say Ben?
Yeah.
And he does say Ben, doesn't he?
He says Ben. And I think that's the only time you hear that name. I don't think Leia ever refers to him as Ben. I wasn't, quoting her verbatim. I was referring to him as Ben because we know that that's his name. Right. She doesn't call him Ben, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the only time that his name is uttered.
When Han Solo calls him out.
Yeah.
I got you.
Because they just say, our son, I think is...
Yeah, right.
And that scene was actually before Han... Well, obviously.
Yes.
Because, yeah, Han Solo dies. That was where we were going with this.
Yes. And you can see it coming a mile away in that scene.
Yeah,
they're on this elevated platform, which has no handrails, which is just dangerous. And he's talking to Kylo Ren, and he's trying to convince him to come back with him, and basically go back to the light side. And Kylo Ren seems to give in a little too quickly and a little too easily.
Right.
And so you just know something's coming. And
now they did give you before that, though. They did give you earlier in the movie that he was by himself. I think he was talking to his idealistic vision of Darth Vader, talking about how the light side was. He was having a struggle with the light side, kind of tugging at him here and there.
So maybe they threw that in there to kind of make you think that it's possible he was gonna.
Right at that moment when they're on the platform.
Right.
Maybe it got him inside, and even at this point, it's still possible that it did.
Sure, maybe it affected him in a little bit of a certain way. We obviously knew, just as moviegoers, that it wasn't gonna last because we hadn't seen the scene with him fighting Finn with lightsabers in the forest yet.
Right.
So if you just remembered the trailer, you knew. If you hadn't seen any footage at all, maybe you thought it was possible Ren was gonna go to the light side, but no, he doesn't. And instead, he stabs his father with his lightsaber.
Yep, turns it on right on his chest.
Yep. And Han Solo looks betrayed and saddened, and also in pain. And Chewbacca, when that happens, and you just feel bad for Chewbacca. Like, you can tell Chewbacca was very upset when that happened.
Yeah.
And
I like how they cut to Leia.
Yeah, I did too.
And she could sense what had happened.
Yep. And then you see Han fall, and that's the last time we'll ever see Han Solo.
I kind of had a feeling that this was going to happen even before seeing the movie.
Yep.
One, there are several reasons. One, because of all the talk from the past that he hated the Han Solo character, and that he wanted him to die, and that's why he got frozen in carbonite in Empire, was because that was actually supposed to be his death
scene. Yeah.
And how did they get Harrison Ford to come back and do another Star Wars movie? Well, maybe he dies. And after all that thought, then you see the way that he's kind of marketing the movie, when he's going and doing interviews and stuff, and it almost felt like he was giving a farewell off to the fans. Like, you know, this I'm giving you my all right now because this is it.
He seems like, I wasn't surprised at all that it happened because of those exact reasons that you just gave. Like, he was talking, you know, I remember reading that he wanted Han Solo to die either in A New Hope or in Empire Strikes Back, and the fact that he like lives throughout the whole series. And so he also seems like Harrison Ford, just from past interviews, like when they first announced that Episode 7 was happening, even before he probably knew he was going to be in the movie, he seemed like he was just so tired of getting Star Wars questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would not surprise me at all if he said, I will come back and I will play Han Solo, but I have to die.
Exactly.
You have to kill me off. Because I think he's just, like you said, like I'm sure he loves the character, he loves the movies, I'm sure he loves the fans, but he's just so ready to like move on from Han Solo.
And this isn't going to help.
No, it's not.
People are going to go.
He's still going to
like,
get questions, and he's still going to get.
Did you want to die?
Right.
Is that why you agreed to the movie, Harrison?
He's like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. But at least he won't have to do another movie and then go through the press and all that stuff, and avoid, you know, answering questions and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Next time, you know, Episode 8 comes out, he won't have to be a part of the marketing or anything.
He'll just sit back and let Mark Hamill do it all.
Speaking of Harrison Ford, he did so good. I couldn't believe it.
It was fantastic. And so you know, part of you was thinking when he dies, you know, I was like, I wonder if he agreed to do it only if Han Solo died, which makes you think that he doesn't really want to play Han Solo again.
Right.
And if that's the case, which I'm not saying it is, but if that's the case, he gave it 110%.
Yeah.
It looked like he was having fun playing Han Solo.
Yeah.
He did, you know, he stepped right back into the shoes of Han Solo and played the character perfectly.
Yeah, I'm pulling this one off from, you know, many other people have said this that have done spoiler reviews. Harrison Ford was not playing Harrison Ford. It was not Harrison Ford on the screen. It was Han Solo.
Absolutely.
Han Solo came back into the movie and it was Han Solo all the way. So super props to Harrison Ford for that performance.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
And Mark Hamill did such a great job as Luke too.
Oh my goodness. Oscar worthy. Oscar worthy.
What did you think of Carrie Fisher?
Carrie Fisher is fine. I think Carrie Fisher is I don't know how to really explain it. You know, Carrie Fisher's had a, you know, public battle, well, years ago, public battle with drugs and whatnot. And I think that's just kind of affected her in terms of speech and in terms of appearance. You know, she looks, I mean, Harrison Ford looks pretty old too, but she just kind of looks pretty old, and she almost sounds like she has a little bit of a
different,
speech
definitely.
impediment and stuff. Yeah. And so I just think that's like the drugs and stuff that she was taking a long time ago, just kind of affecting her. And so I thought she was used perfectly for the film. You know, she's like the leader of the resistance. I love seeing Admiral Akbar again. I thought that was great. There was another character whose name I can't remember from Return of the Jedi that was also there, which I thought was cool.
The alien guy that was with Lando.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
Which is kind of a shame that Lando wasn't there. We have that guy, and we have Admiral Akbar, but
Lando will be definitely. My guess is Lando will be in Episode 8.
Episode 8. That'd be pretty cool if they bring back Billy D. So I think
that is a shame because now we can't have a Harrison Ford Lando interaction.
Nope. It's done.
And that was another thing I was kind of, you know, after seeing it, I didn't really think about it till today. I was like, you know, it's a shame that Han Solo and Luke didn't get to have an exchange, last exchange or an embrace or something.
It would be really terrible if Harrison Ford comes back in Episode 8 as a Force ghost, even though he doesn't have the Force.
Yeah, no. I would consider that worse than the what were the aliens you called them on the
Rathtars.
Yeah, that'd be worse than the Rathtars in my opinion.
Um. So anyway, to answer your question, I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. I got the soundtrack right here, and one of the track names is the Raphtars. So, because I remember thinking it was a little close to Raptor, like Velociraptor.
There was no relic hunting, which is kind of where I thought they were going with it. The fact that Kylo Ren had Darth Vader's helmet, and the fact that Luke Skywalker's lightsaber was in the movie, which was also Anakin's before Luke's.
Right.
So I thought there might be, some
that
hunting.
He loses at the end of Empire Strikes Back.
Right. But that's his lightsaber.
Right. Yes, of course. Yes. This is how I imagine they're going to explain how Maz Kanata found the lightsaber. So Cloud City, is a city in the clouds, right? We never see what's underneath the clouds. So I imagine it's a planet full of Maz Kanata species, and she's just like sitting on her front porch drinking like iced tea, and all of a sudden this lightsaber in hand just falls into her yard, and she's like, "Oh my!" That's exactly how I think it's gonna work out.
That works. I like that. Yeah. Who knows? I figured there was probably a planet underneath
Cloud City
that it had fallen under.
Yeah.
So yeah, your whole front porch theory, I think that's sound.
I think it's spot on. It's I think what's more interesting than how Maz Kanata got the lightsaber, because who knows how she could have gotten it. It's one of those things that like somebody found it, sold it, somebody else sold it, and then Maz Kanata finds it. Type thing. Who knows how she really got it? It really doesn't matter. I think what's more interesting is this weird, like this is one of the first times where we actually kind of see. We got a visual / audio representation of the Force calling somebody.
Yeah. Because
she heard like children playing, right? Or children laughing and stuff. And that's what drew her down the stairs and then towards this
Wasn't
box.
It help me? Was
it? I don't remember.
I know that was the first thing I heard. So.
And then she gets and then all of a sudden she's getting these visual images, which part of it is from her life. Part of it is you see Luke's hand touching R2-D2.
Right. You see Kylo Ren with the Knights of Ren.
Yep. Yeah, which was awesome in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
So very interesting stuff we're seeing here with the Force, something we've never really seen before. Which is also maybe, you could say she's really strong in the Force, and that's why she's like almost transported into these images.
From what I've heard, the first time that was done was in the Rebels.
Oh, really?
And that certain things that are used by Force-sensitive people, their energy kind of gets instilled into it. So, and then, like I said, that's just
still
what
like
I've
the
heard.
lightsaber.
But yeah, Luke's lightsaber. That's why you would see an image of Luke, and but why would you see Kylo Ren?
I don't know. So then that's when Maz Kanata wants to give her the lightsaber. She doesn't want to accept it. And then Maz Kanata ends up giving it to Finn. So there's this scene that obviously was cut out from the trailer where Maz Kanata, I went back and looked at it, and it's obviously Maz Kanata handing the lightsaber to what everybody assumed was General Leia.
Right.
And that is not in the movie now. So I'm curious to see where that scene would have played out. And then did General Leia give the lightsaber to somebody? Because Finn obviously ends up with it, but it's very interesting because it felt very natural in the movie how she just ended up giving it to Finn. And so I don't know where that scene would have taken place.
Right. No, that was very likely Leia because the way she rolls up her, she has like these cuffs, on her outfit.
I don't know who else it would have been, honestly.
And the person getting handed the lightsaber has that, so it's like 98% sure that it was Leia.
Yeah. So you told me that your favorite scene was the lightsaber duel at the end in the forest. That's a great scene. I'm having a hard time, honestly, picking my favorite scene, which was kind of actually coming out of the theater. That was one of the first questions Denise asked me. She was like, "What was your favorite scene?" And I had a hard time picking, and that kind of made me sad because I realized that at no point during this movie did I go like, wow, that was awesome. Like, it was kind of just what I was expecting, almost. Like, it wasn't like nothing really truly wowed me up until I think the very end with Luke. So I kind of was a little disappointed by that, but at the same time, the more I thought about it, just like, I really liked the movie, and so I'm not really like taking off any points for that. But the more I thought about it, I think my favorite scenes were, number one, the Luke Skywalker reveal at the end, and number two, I really, really enjoyed the Millennium Falcon fights, like TIE fighter fight scene on Jakku, which we all assumed from the trailer Harrison Ford would be flying that thing, but it was actually Rey.
Right.
And I thought, I don't know where this girl learned how to be a pilot, but she learned how to be a great pilot. And,
well,
clearly
she's up there
with
we find
Poe
out
Dameron.
later that it's because she's force sensitive.
That could very well
and she can see what's going to happen beforehand.
Right. So I thought she did a great job in that. And I loved how that scene ended where he got the gun is stuck, and so she just like flies it so that she basically aims for him.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was a great ending to that scene. So very well done. I think that would probably be my favorite scene.
Nice.
In terms of least favorite scenes, I think we're on the same page. The Rathtar scene didn't really work for me, and I can't really pinpoint what it is. I mean, obviously it's the CGI creatures, but even before the creatures show up and you see those two gangs show up,
yeah, I know.
There was something just kind of off about it.
Yes, there was.
It just felt kind of out of place. It was very strange.
Yeah. It's hard to explain, but I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, so that whole sequence, I guess while it's kind of necessary because you want, well, I don't know. I don't even know if it really is necessary because I guess you need the characters to leave in a hurry, I guess. But I don't know. It just didn't feel.
And that whole scene in general beforehand, the fact that Han Solo happens to be there to capture the Millennium Falcon. I mean, that
it's a bit of coincidence. I will give you that.
Yeah.
But people in my theater, when they ran on board of the ship, people were clapping.
Right. Oh, of course. But they didn't handle that. They didn't handle that introduction like I was thinking or hoping they were going to do it. It was very quick. He just kind of comes in and says, "Chewie, we're home." I mean, he almost didn't seem as surprised as he should have been.
Yeah, absolutely. I could agree with that. That was another complaint actually from some of the comments was that the trailers, they like used the same shots from the movie, but they kind of held on those shots a little longer, let you kind of soak it in a little bit. And I did notice that occasionally. Like I think in the very first teaser trailer that we ever saw, there's that scene of Kylo Ren turning on his lightsaber in the forest, and it's not that long of a shot, but I don't really honestly remember that shot being in the movie, and if it is, it's very quick.
I heard it wasn't.
So I don't. Yeah, it might not even be in the movie. The second scene that I can think of is the reveal of that Star Destroyer in the sand in Jakku, which is like the first shot of the second trailer. That took a while in the trailer for that reveal to happen, and in the movie, I feel like by the time they cut to that shot, the thing's already revealed. It's not like a slow pan like it is in the trailer reveal. Right. I feel like they cut to the shot of that wide shot and that it's there already. So that was a complaint that I was like, well, trailers, you can't really ever truly base what the film's going to be like off the trailer because the people who are making the trailers are editors for a marketing department, not necessarily for the film and everything. Most of the time. But at the same time, I kind of understood that complaint because it was like the editing was so quick and so fast in the movie. It's like sometimes you just wanted to kind of slow down and like savor some of the imagery.
Right. And I think J.J. Abrams is notorious for, apparently he had like 10 hours worth of footage.
Wow.
To go through. And the fact that this movie is 2 hours and 16 minutes long, I don't think is a coincidence. Because A New Hope is 2 hours and 16 minutes long.
Is it really?
and Return of the Jedi.
I was going to say Return of the Jedi is too, because I just had to rewatch that.
So I think, we've got to keep it here under at 216. That's where we're going with this.
That's the magic number.
Yeah.
Well, that's about it. That's about all I can think of for what I have to say about The Force Awakens. I guess now it's time to rate this movie.
Go ahead.
John, you like to rate in terms of stars. I like to give a letter grade.
Yeah.
How many stars?
Let's hear you first, man.
I'm going to give this movie an A.
An A.
Yeah, it doesn't quite deserve the A+, like we said, the Rathtars and whatnot, but to me, I had a great time watching it. I was excited to see a new Star Wars film. This felt like a Star Wars film. It felt like it belonged in the original trilogy universe. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here. So, yeah, I give it an A.
An A. I stopped giving half stars, but I don't think it would have mattered this time. I agree it feels like it fits with the original universe, but I also feel like it's disconnected a little bit. It's kind of its own thing with inspirations by the original trilogy. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thought it was definitely worthy of being a Star Wars film. And I'm definitely excited to see what's to come. But I give it 4 out of 5 stars.
Very nice. We'd love to hear what you think about Star Wars The Force Awakens. You can always leave us a comment on our website, www.cinemaheroes.com. You can comment on our Facebook, facebook.com/SM and SM podcast. Or you can throw us a line on Twitter, @CinemaHeroes. I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. And may the Force be with you.